The Fire type is one of the coolest types in all of Pokemon. They've got some of the greatest starters of all time and some of the best Pokemon in general, but they do have a major downside though, and that's because there's so few of them. In Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, this is no different as there's only 4 Fire types in the entire game. With that being said, along with using only Fire types in this run, I'm also going to be adding on the hardcore Nuzlocke rules to make sure this is super difficult. With all that out of the way, I'm finally able to start my run, so I jump out of my move-in truck into the Hoenn region. The first thing I do is wonder where this truck even came from, considering there's absolutely no roads in Hoenn. Regardless of that though, I meet up with my rival who's very obsessed with becoming my friend, but we're enemies, so no. I then move on to Route 101 where I hear some screaming and see the professor getting attacked by this Poochyena. I spend a while just kind of looking at this scene before I actually pick my starter, which is obviously going to be the Fire type Torchic. I then am easily able to mess up this Poochyena and give Torchic the nickname Hershey. This all leads me on to the next town where I've got to have my first rival battle. This one was honestly not that easy. I have an attack down and defense up nature, which really isn't that good. At the time, I didn't really know this, but natures, IVs, and EVs were going to be super crucial if I wanted to win this run. I ended up having a pretty rude awakening later on in this video, but for now, I live in ignorant bliss and just beat my rival. Now, the last thing I need to do before continuing on into the story is say bye-bye to my mom forever and head into the next city. The journey there really isn't that bad as I find myself some orange berries that I'll be able to use later. I then get to meet up with my deadbeat dad, who really doesn't want to talk to me very much. All he says is go train up this little kid named Wally, who I really just hate. Progressing into the story means I've got to go on Route 104 where I find myself some more orange berries and I then head into the forest. While I'm in there, I've got my first fight with Team Magma and it's another Poochyena that I easily put down. This brings me into Rustboro City where I'm ready to fight Roxanne pretty much immediately. Roxanne has her rock types and honestly when I first looked at this fight I was really not that worried because I assumed I would have double kick by now. In this game though, Torchic doesn't actually learn the move double kick until after it evolves. This is a major problem because the level cap really doesn't let my Torchic evolve. That being said, the only way I can win this fight is by getting extremely lucky. That being said, Torchic learns the move Sand Attack at level 12, and that will be crucial in winning this battle. Challenging Roxanne the first time made me realize how important having a good nature, good IVs, and EVs would be in this battle. That being said, the first time I went through it, I ended up getting hit by a Rock Tomb one time, and it brought me all the way down to 12 HP. On that very next turn, I went for yet another Sand Attack, and it didn't matter as I still got hit by a Rock Tomb, and this made me realize how hard this will actually be. I tried over and over again to get a Torchic with good enough IVs to be able to win this battle. Eventually, after perfecting my EVs with literally every single Torchic, I got a few good ones, but nothing that could really get me past Geodude. Eventually, after like my 9th Torchic, I got a really good attempt going. I made it all the way past Geodude into Nosepass. In the end, Nosepass finished me off with a tackle, and I was kinda devastated. Eventually though, after eradicating the Torchic population, I ended up getting a really good attempt going. Roxanne starts out like she always does with her Geodude, and I bring out Hershey. Immediately, I obviously start with a Sand Attack as Geodude hits me with a Rock Tomb. Not very lucky yet, but on the next 3 turns, I don't get hit by a single Rock Tomb as I get 3 Sand Attacks off. After lowering Geodude's accuracy by 4 stages, I now feel comfortable to start going for Embers. I end up hitting my first one and getting a lucky burn in the process. This means that when Geodude goes for another Rock Tomb and it connects, it does less damage than it would have before because of that burn. This means that instead of taking 20 damage like I did from the last Rock Tomb, I only take about 12. This in turn activates my Oran Berry as it brings me up to 19 remaining, and I can start spamming Embers until eventually Geodude goes down without me taking any more damage. This puts me in an excellent spot going into the next Pokemon Nosepass. Unfortunately though, because I did get hit by those 2 Rock Tombs, I'm actually slower than Nosepass. Because of that, I take damage from a tackle on the first turn and can start spamming Sand Attacks after that. These Sand Attacks work out really well for me as I end up taking no more damage after that first tackle and get off 4 consecutive Sand Attacks. Nosepass unfortunately breaks my streak by hitting me with a tackle, taking me down to 10 remaining as I start to go for some Embers. With these Embers, I take Nosepass down into the red as I've got 4 HP remaining. All I can do now is pray for Nosepass to miss as she's going to be attacking me first. Please, I really just want to leave this battle. I really do. All I need is Nosepass to miss one more and I'm good. Please. Yes! Yes, he missed! This guy missed! Yes, yes, yes! I could not be more happy about that. That is so great. I could finally get the run going. Oh! Oh my gosh. With that first gym finally down, I'm now able to start my journey towards the second, and this is gonna be a lot easier. Since the Hershey we have now is way different than the previous ones, I take a look at it and find out it has a serious nature, and that's about all we need to know. Besides that though, we can now start to chase Team Magma into the caves over here, and I can actually evolve Hershey into a Combuskin. With Combuskin, I get the move Double Kick, which I really wish I had a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, I help this guy get back his Pico, and after I do that, I'm now able to head onto the next city. The journey just takes me back through the previous routes, and I swim over to Dewford. Once I get here, I'm pretty much immediately able to challenge the gym, but I have a little bit of a problem. I genuinely do not think there's a way to stay under the level cap for this gym. There is far too many mandatory battles I have to go through before making it to the gym leader that I have to get XP from. This is the case with this gym and the next one, and I hope you guys aren't too mad about it because I don't think there's another way I could have gone about it. Regardless of that though, this gym really isn't that difficult anyways. I mean, I think I honestly could have beat it with my level 14 Torchic earlier. My Combuskin has the move Peck, so Brawly's fighting types really stand no chance. That being said, both his Machop and Makihita go down to just a few pecks, and that ends up winning me my second gym badge. The next thing I've got to do is travel into the depths of this cave where I meet up with the champion Steven. I check out some cave paintings with him and realize that he's looking at like fake Pokemon. This looks like a fusion. This is not the right game. I hand him some sort of letter, then just go on to Slateport. After a long swim, I decide to rest and dry off in the town, but I actually have no idea where to go from here. Not gonna lie to you, I spent about 30 minutes walking in and out of buildings before I actually figured out what I needed to do. It was pretty simple. All I needed to do was kind of walk around for a little bit until eventually Team Magma decided to fight me. These fights are easy as usual, and now I get to go play dress up. So that's cool. I was never really cut out to be a model though, so in the end I just left and got ready for my next rival battle. This one isn't that bad because I did get the TM bulk up after I beat up Brawly. This allowed me to set up really efficiently on the first Pokemon that came out, Shroomish, and at the end of this, I mean, all I did was level up a lot. This brings me into the next city where I've got to fight with Wally, and he nearly brings me over the level cap. At this point, I thought I was in the clear and I could stay under the level cap for this gym, but I then realized I had to fight every single gym trainer, and it's just not gonna happen. It's fine though, as again, this is another one of those really easy gyms. Against Watson, I start out by going for a double kick on Magnemite, and it ends up one-shotting as the next Pokemon to come out is Voltorb. He ends up being a little bit more difficult to take out, but not really by that much, as all it took was 2 extra flame charges, and with that, the final Pokemon Magneton is out. Magneton gets slammed by a double kick twice that does a ton of damage, taking him all the way down into the red, as he then goes for a supersonic, misses, and I'm able to get off one more double kick, winning me my 3rd badge. From here, I see Team Magma going on to Route 12, or 112 I mean, and then I'm able to continue on into the game from there. While I'm here, I see Mount Chimney, and I'm actually able to catch a Pokemon here, and that's a Numel. This is a great addition to my team, as prior to this, I didn't have another Pokemon. That being said, I give him the nickname Twix, then check out his nature and find out that it's actually a neutral one. I also take a look at the ability and find out that it's simple, which is not really great right now, but it does evolve into a pretty good ability that I'll show you guys later. With that, I'm actually able to go on to the next area, the Fiery Path, where there's another encounter waiting for me, and that's a Torkoal. Originally, I was super hyped for this encounter, but in the end, I realized that it's actually not that good, as Torkoal doesn't have the ability Drought in this generation, and he gets it in Gen 7. That being said, it still is nice to have another Pokemon on the team, and I give Torkoal the nickname Kit Kat. I then do my typical check out the ability in nature, find out the ability is White Smoke, which is, you know, I mean, is what it is, and the nature is actually attack down, special defense up, which is kind of not great. With that, I've now got 3 Pokemon on the team, which is really solid, and I can continue forward into the game where I meet this guy who's really in love with secret hideouts. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure why I followed this fully grown man to a secret hideout, but hey, I mean, that's my business, I guess. He does say one really important thing though, and he wants you guys to subscribe. Only 11.5% of my viewers are actually subscribed, so if you've made it this far and you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button because it really does help me out. Along with that, if you could drop a like and leave a comment down below letting me know what your favorite fire type is, that would really boost me in the algorithm and help me be able to afford food. Also, I've recently started up my channel members, and if you want to support the channel, that's probably the best way you can do it. Regardless, with that ad out of the way, I'm now able to continue on into the game where I meet up with my rival one more time before heading into this meteor-infested city. Not really sure how this place got slammed by a bunch of different meteors, but it is what it is, as I can just move forward into this cave where I find myself battling Team Magma. This is a double battle that I get to fight with my rival, and it goes by pretty smoothly. I don't take a death, so I would say it went pretty well. After this, I get to go back onto Route 12, where I've got to deal with the rest of Team Magma on top of Mount Chimney. This is where I fight Team Magma's leader, Maxie. Maxie's Mightyena is super annoying, as it keeps switching me out with Roar and going for Swagger over and over again. It causes me to bring Twix down to 6 HP by confusion. At this point, I've got to make a decision of sending Combuskin in and going over the level cap, or basically just losing this fight. So what I decide to do is the obvious choice, which is send Combuskin in, which ends up winning me the battle, but does bring me over the level cap. This means that for this next gym fight against Flannery, I'm not going to be able to use my ace Pokemon Combuskin. This could end up being a problem for this 4th gym, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. With Team Magma taken care of for now, I'm able to go down the jagged path into the city with the 4th gym and challenge Flannery for my 4th gym badge. After Flannery screams her head off at me, she ends up leading this fight with Slugma as I lead with Twix. With Twix, I start out by going for an easy Earth Power that ends up one-shotting Slugma, leading into the next Pokemon Numel, who also gets one-shotted by an Earth Power. This all brings out the final Pokemon Torkoal, who starts out by getting hit by an Earth Power, getting brought all the way down into the red as she just sets up a sunny day. On the next turn, she gets fully healed, but it really doesn't matter at this point, as 2 more Earth Powers are enough to finish off Torkoal and win myself my 4th badge. From here, I meet up with my rival again, and she immediately takes me to the 5th gym, which is great because I really didn't want to walk that far. It's also great because I can start my 5th gym battle right here without worrying about going over the level cap. With that being said, I'm immediately ready to challenge Norman, my father, in my 5th gym battle. There's a lot of emotions going on in this battle, so I end up leading the only way I know how, and that's with Combuskin, as he leads with his Slacking. I'm going to be so honest with you guys, this fight was absolute cake. Slacking has the ability True Wand, and this means that every other turn, he can't actually attack. Because of this, I totally abused my bulk up strategy and set up 5 consecutive bulk ups. It took a little bit as I kept getting hit by Retaliate and getting put to sleep by Yawn, but in the end, I was totally set up to win this battle. I took out the first Slacking with 2 Flame Charges, so these last 2 Pokemon easily go down to a set of double kicks, and I win my 5th badge. With the 5th gym finally finished, I walk back with Wally onto Route 118, where I actually have to use the HM Surf. Now, I don't know if you've noticed by now or not, but I actually can't use the HM for Surf. I don't have any Pokemon that can learn it, so what I decide to do is go onto Route 117, where I can catch a Marill. Marill can learn basically every single essential HM I'll need in the entire run, so this is going to be really useful from here forward. That being said, once I successfully make it past this little ocean part, I meet up with Steven again, and there's actually a Latias calling us. We've got to go follow it to save our fellow Latios, and once we end up doing that from Team Magma, I'm able to finally progress into the story and get somewhere on the other islands. Progressing means I've got to go to this weather station where Team Magma has absolutely taken over. It takes me a minute to go through all the Team Magma grunts, and while I was doing this, my Numel actually ended up evolving into a Camerupt, which is really solid. With this Camerupt, I was able to finish off the remaining part of Team Magma, and I get this really awful looking Pokemon. I could have chosen to put this little ball sack on my team, but I chose not to because I really don't feel like activating Sunny Day every single time I get into a battle just so Castform turns into a Fire type. That being said, I'm sure Castform probably would have helped out a little bit in this next rival battle that I've got right after this. This fight with May was really close. I ended up surviving on 9 HP, and if there was another turn that would have happened, I would have died to Toxic. Regardless, I was actually able to get out of that fight just fine, and I head into Four Tree City. This city contains the 6th gym, and I actually can't get in here yet because I haven't defeated Kecleon. So to solve this problem, I quickly talk to Steven, who gives me a Devon Scope, and he actually gives me Blazikenite, so I'll be able to Mega Evolve Blaziken once I get him. With that out of the way though, I'm able to move this Kecleon so I can get into the 6th gym and try to get my 6th gym badge. This one could be pretty hard. Winona leads the battle with Swellow, as I decide to lead with Kit Kat. With Kit Kat, the first thing I do is set up 4 consecutive curses. During my process of setting up, I ended up taking a ton of damage from Aerial Ace, and Swellow actually ended up setting up a double team. This really isn't good for me, as now I don't know if I'll be able to hit Rock Tomb. So rather than that, after my curses, I decide to go for a Flamethrower on Swellow that takes her down all the way to 1 HP remaining. She then gets healed up to full, and I'm luckily able to connect with a second Flamethrower, and this time I get a little bit of a higher damage roll, and it's able to KO. This is where the dreaded Altaria comes out, and she takes pity on me and goes for a Dragon's Breath, allowing me to cleanly get off a Rock Tomb, and because of those curses I set up earlier, it's able to one-shot. With that, the second to last Pokemon to come out is Pelipper, who's also kind of a difficult Pokemon to take out. Pelipper's got Water Pulse, and basically none of my other Pokemon can take that. I would have switched into Camerupt because my ability Solid Rock, which reduces super effective moves, but it really doesn't matter when it's 4 times super effective. All I can do now is hope I hit a Rock Rock Tomb on Pelipper before I go down, and luckily that's actually what happens. Pelipper hits me with a Water Pulse, taking me down to 9 HP as I'm able to get off a clean Rock Tomb, one-shotting Pelipper in the process and bringing out the final Pokemon Skarmory. Skarmory's not that tricky, all I've got to do is switch into Twix and go for a couple of Lava Plumes, finishing her off, and that gets me my 6th badge. Going a little bit further on into the game, I've got to make it to Lily Cove City. On my journey there, Combusken evolved into a Blaziken, which means I can finally start using this Mega Stone. I decide that my perfect test subject for my new Mega Stone is definitely my rival May, and I absolutely annihilate her in a battle. Mega Blaziken is seriously no joke. With that, I've got to go to Mount Pyre, or Piri maybe? I don't really know how to pronounce it, let me know in the comments. Either way, I've got to go to the top of this mountain and deal with a bunch of Team Magma members. They really aren't too strong, especially since half of them have the exact same Pokemon, but either way, I get myself the blue orb and I can finally continue on into the game to more Team Magma battles. These battles take me to Slateport City, where I watch Team Magma leave in their massive submarine. Past that, I find myself a Master Ball in the Team Magma hideout, and I also find another submarine. This one is shaped like a Camerupt, which is honestly kind of cool. I have absolutely no idea where this submarine went though, so I just head into Moss Deep City. Once I'm here, I can basically immediately challenge the 7th gym leaders, Tate and Liza. For this fight, I lead with Hershey and Twix, as they lead with Solrock and Lunatone. With Hershey, I started by going for a Blaze Kick on Lunatone, and it does about a third, as then Solrock sets up a Sunny Day. Lunatone then goes for a Light Screen, as I finish off the turn by going for a Rock Slide with Twix. On the next turn, I finish off the remainder of Lunatone's HP by going for a Double Kick, and on that same turn, Solrock decides to go for a Solar Beam, and it hits Twix, doing basically no damage. From here, a Rock Slide from Twix and a Blaze Kick from Blaziken are enough to finish off Solrock's remaining HP and win myself my 7th gym battle. Once I get out of here, I witness all hell break loose, and I see this massive blue beam in the sky. I head over to where this beam came from, and I find myself underwater with my Marill, and this is actually where the Camerupt submarine is, so yay, we found it. As you can probably imagine, Camerupt indicates a lot more Team Magma battles, so I've got to go through those pretty swiftly. This all leads me up to one of my final battles against Team Magma, and that's against Maxie. Against Maxie, Torkoal absolutely carried. My whole goal for this fight was to basically stay in with Torkoal for as long as possible, and that's exactly what I did. With Torkoal, I stayed in until Crobat brought me down to 1 HP remaining, then I was able to take him out with a Heat Wave. This brought out the last Pokemon, Mega Camerupt. Thankfully, instead of going for a ground type move, Mega Camerupt ended up going for a Rock Slide, so this really didn't do that much damage when I decided to switch into Twix. From here, it was pretty simple. All I had to do was outspeed and go for an Earth Power, finishing off Mega Camerupt and winning myself my final battle against Team Magma. It's only at this point where Maxie has a little bit of a change of heart and realizes that destroying the world really isn't a good thing. This then leads into a massive discussion where I get mega friend-zoned by my rival, which is honestly crazy because I didn't want anything to do with her anyways. From here, I go down to the core of the earth, which is, you know, very hot. I have no idea how I'm surviving here with my suit off, but regardless, this is where I end up catching Primal Groudon. I've got to swiftly put him into the ball because my Torkoal's still at 1 HP from earlier. After this, I guess I just saved the world, but that's not really what I'm focused on. I'm focused on challenging the 8th gym leader. I give Groudon the nickname Feastables, then check out the nature and find out that it's actually special defense down and defense up, which is kind of just useless. Either way, I end up giving him the red orb so he can turn into a fire type whenever I go into a battle, and this is where I start my final gym battle against Wallace. Now, usually this fight would be extremely difficult. Wallace has all water types and they can really do some big damage to my team, but I have Primal Groudon. Primal Groudon has the ability Desolate Land, which means that I can't get hit by water type moves at all. For some reason, the AI really doesn't comprehend this very well and won't go for anything other than water type moves on my Groudon. That being said, because of this gym was kind of a walk in the park. I could just go for a bunch of Earthquakes and finish off every single one of Wallace's Pokemon. With Wallace down, I play this little Eon Flute. While I'm here going through Victory Road, Wally ends up finding me and challenges me to a battle, and doesn't he know I have Primal Groudon? He's easily defeated as I prepare the rest of my team to get ready to fight the Elite Four. For my first Elite Four battle, I'm up against Sydney and his Dark types. Sydney leads the battle with Mightyena as I start out with Hershey. With Hershey, I obviously start out by going for a quick Mega Evolution as I then go for a Bulk Up and get hit by a Takedown. This cycle repeats itself once more as I then get hit by a Swagger, and this is kinda bad because I don't want to be confused. That being said, on the next next turn, I try to go for a double kick, but I do end up hitting myself with confusion as I then get hit by another takedown. Luckily, on the next turn, I end up snapping out of the confusion and get off a double kick, finishing off Mightyena, leading into Shift Tree. Shift Tree starts by hitting a fake out, making me flinch, and on the next turn, it's a pretty easy one-shot with another double kick. This same thing happens to Absol and brings out the second to last Pokemon, Sharpedo. Sharpedo has Aqua Jet, so it's always going to move first here, but I think I can tank it, so once I get hit by it, I only take about 30 damage. On that same turn, I go for a double kick, which does one-shot, but because of the rough skin, I take just a little bit more damage. That all being said, this brings out the last Pokemon, Cacturne, which isn't a problem as all I gotta do is go for another double kick, finishing him off, and winning myself my first Elite Four battle. For my next fight, I'm up against Phoebe, and she leads the battle with Dusclops as I bring out Hershey yet again. With Hershey, I started with the same strategy as before, where I go for a bulk up after Mega Evolving, but this time I end up getting confused on the first turn. Luckily, on the second turn, I'm able to break out of it and go for another bulk up, but Dusclops hits me with a curse, which means I'm not going to be able to stay in for very long. After this curse, I decide to just end off Dusclops with a Blaze Kick, and I just switch out on the next turn when Bayonet comes in. I simply just move into Kit Kat, who gets hit by a Toxic on the switch in, and on the next turn, Bayonet hits me with a Shadow Ball as I go for a Heat Wave, bringing him down into the red. At this point, because I know she's going to heal, I decide to just switch out into Hershey and go for a Blaze Kick on the next turn to finish off Bayonet with a one-shot. This then brings out another Bayonet, who experiences the same fate as the last, as this leads into a Sableye. Sableye starts out by going for a Fake Out, taking me down to 77, as on the next turn, I actually miss a Blaze Kick and get hit by a Shadow Claw that takes me all the way down to 41 remaining. Going for another Blaze Kick here is kind of risky, because if I miss, I could die, but I decide to go for it anyways, and I thankfully connect, finishing off Sableye and leading into the final Pokemon, Dusknoir. At this point, I definitely cannot stay in with Blaziken, so I decide to make a switch into Feastables, and this is an easy kill, as Feastables has so many good moves to deal with Dusknoir. With that, I'm off towards my third Elite Four member, which is the Ice-type Elite Four member, Glacia. With this girl's name being Glacia, she was basically assigned Ice types at birth. That'd be like if I named my kid Firea or Gracia. It's just stupid. Regardless, because Glacia does have those Ice types, she leads with Glalie, as I lead with Groudon. With all my Fire types, I've got essentially nothing to worry about in this entire battle, and because of my ability Desolate Land, there's really no way I can take any damage. That being said, I get through this battle doing exactly that, taking 0 damage in the entire fight and taking out every single one of Glacia's Pokemon. This all brings me to the final Elite Four member, Drake. Drake leads with his Altaria, as I lead with Twigs. Altaria starts out by going for a Cotton Guard, drastically raising her defense, as I then go for a Rock Slide, doing essentially nothing because of that Cotton Guard. On the next turn, I get nailed by a Dragon Pulse and go for a Yawn. This Yawn puts Altaria to sleep on the following turn, but not before I get hit by yet another Dragon Pulse, taking me down to 58 HP remaining. From here, what I decide to do is switch into Hershey, and I didn't actually expect Drake to switch too, but he does as well, and he moves into Flygon. With Hershey, I decide to Mega Evolve to get those speed boosts, and I also choose to go for a couple of bulk ups just so I can get a little bit stronger and survive a couple of earthquakes. I end up getting off 2 bulk ups before I get scared, as Flygon has Supersonic, and I really don't want to get confused here. From here, at +2 attack, I decide to start going for double kicks, and it does just enough to take out Flygon. On the next turn, Kingdra gets sent in, and a double kick does just enough to take her out as well. This then brings out the ace Pokemon Salamence, who does a really solid bit of damage to me with Zen Headbutt, but it's not enough as I get off a couple of slashes to take him down. With Salamence gone, I end up learning the move Sky Uppercut that I use on the next Pokemon, Flygon. Flygon ends up eating a pretty solid fist to the face, as the last Pokemon out is Altaria. As you can imagine, with Altaria already down to half, it's a pretty easy kill with Slash, and this wins me my final Elite Four battle. Now, I'm off towards the final battle of this run against champion Steven. Steven leads the battle with Skarmory, as I lead with Kit Kat. Skarmory starts out by setting up his spikes, as I go for a Heat Wave that brings him all the way down to 1 HP. The only reason he survived is because of his ability Sturdy, and on the next turn, he got healed up to full as I went for another Heat Wave, activating Sturdy yet again. At this point, I know Steven's not going to heal again, so I decide to go for a Slam as Skarmory gets off 1 more spikes before going down. With that, Steven sends in his next Pokemon, Aggron, and for this, I decide to stay in for Kit Kat, who tanks a Stone Edge and gets brought down to 53 HP as I go for a Heat Wave, doing a little bit over half. On the next turn, I could have chosen to switch out, but I honestly don't want any of my Pokemon taking any unnecessary damage, so I decided to just let Torkoal go down to another Stone Edge. Sad to see a Pokemon go this late into the run, but honestly, I kinda needed to sacrifice somebody because this fight is gonna be difficult. With that being said, the Pokemon I bring in after Torkoal is Groudon, and once Groudon's in, I'm able to get off a Precipice Blades to finish off Aggron's remaining HP. With that, Claydol sent in, and this Pokemon is really annoying to deal with. It's got Levitate, it's got Light Screen, and Reflect, so I've got to take it out really quickly. With that being said, the only way I can take it out is through my Fire type moves because, like I said, it has Levitate. It takes a total of 3 Lava Plumes to eventually take Claydol down and bring out the next Pokemon, Cradally. Against her, I start out by going for a Lava Plume that does a little bit over half as I then get hit by a Giga Drain. Unfortunately enough for me though, I can't actually kill in the next turn because I ran out of Lava Plume PP. Along with that, because Claydol set up Reflect earlier in this battle, my Earthquakes aren't going to do enough damage to KO. With that being said, all this means is that I've got to take way more damage than I was expecting, and before Cradally goes down, I get brought down to 58 HP remaining. This then brings out Steven's second to last Pokemon, Armaldo, who's way easier to take down. All it takes is 2 Earthquakes. In the process of these 2 Earthquakes though, I get brought down to 34 remaining, and this is all leading into the final Pokemon, Metagross. Mega Metagross is honestly a really scary Pokemon, and I really thought I would be able to one-shot with a single Earthquake from Groudon, but I actually wasn't able to. I leave Metagross in the red, and he hits me with a Giga Impact that takes down Primal Groudon. At this point, I was really scared I was going to lose the battle, but then I remembered because he just used Giga Impact, he's got to recharge in the next turn. This means that I've basically got a free turn to do whatever I want, so I make a safe switch into Twix and go for a simple Earth Power, finishing off Mega Metagross and winning myself my final battle of this run. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Big thanks to Lepic for editing this one. His links will be down in the description. I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing because stuff like that really does help out. And yeah, that's basically it. See ya.